Okay, thanks for watching my video. My name is Ikai Kahasi with Shake Energy Collaborative. We're a public benefit corporation, and we're particularly focused on community design and community-owned energy. We think this approach is really important because we have a huge climate transition that we need to make, and we want the community to really be in the driver's seat in thinking through all of all of the concerns that community members are particularly well suited to understand, where to place projects, how they should be structured financially, legally, um, what sort of technology should be utilized. All of those things are the kinds of that's the kind of ike, the kind of expertise and knowledge that the community brings to the table, which otherwise is often left out of the energy design process. So our role at Shake is to synthesize a lot of the technical information, to work as a co-designer and a co-creator with community groups. You may be familiar with some of the work that we've done on the island of Molokai, which is a rural community, about 7,500 members, near Oahu. There's a small channel between the two islands called the Kaiwi Channel. And on the island of Molokai, they're really inspiring a lot of us on Oahu because they've created their own cooperative called Oahu Energy Cooperative Molokai. Um, they've had an entire and I should say the cooperative is the outgrowth of the CRAP process, the a community planning process around energy considerations for their island. And one of the things that the community landed on is these projects that they wanted to do around solar. And so Shake has been part of the genesis and the creation of these two projects on the island, and they're moving full steam ahead. This is the YouTube page where you can track all of the the progress that they're making on the island of Molokai. The Molokai folks have inspired work on Oahu, an island in the community of Waianae, which is another predominantly Native Hawaiian community, and I believe the largest Native Hawaiian community on the planet. Uh, the community in Waianae has created their own cooperative, Waianae Sustainability Cooperative, and Shake has been part of that process from the very beginning. Um, they we have actually some big news to announce. Um, just about a month ago, we were able to establish site control for their first project in Waianae. It's a project that we're doing on lands that are owned and controlled by the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, which is a trust that was established by the U.S. Congress in 1920 at the behest of Prince Kuhio, who was Hawaii's first delegate to Congress. And it's the whole idea behind the trust is that the land should be utilized for the benefit of Native Hawaiians, for indigenous Native Hawaiians. And so this land is owned by the trust, and they're allowing the Waianae Sustainability Cooperative, which is beneficiaries of the trust, to utilize that land for their first project. It'll serve about 70 to 80 homes in the area, and we're really glad to see that site control has finally been established. So, it's always been our contention that we want to establish and expand cooperatives, that the cooperative model is very important, but oftentimes, as Auntie Lori Buchanan says here in this quote, oftentimes, we're pretty small. We have small communities, and we're obviously very rural, and small communities have a lot of uphill dynamics that we need to contend with, and there's a lot of work that needs to be done. Um, and so the question is, how do we make that more feasible? And so we've been working on establishing a federation in a process that we're calling LIMA, which is an acronym. And we've had some success recently, which we're happy to report. We've established an interim fiduciary board. It's primarily attorneys and folks with expertise in finance. And so we're working on establishing the kind of the scope of organizational development that supports the member co-ops, such as Ho'ahu and Waianae Sustainability Cooperative. And we're also looking at RFP opportunities in the in an upcoming request for proposals that Hawaiian Electric, our investor-owned utility, is going to be putting out hopefully later this year, later this calendar year. So we were expecting that RFP process to happen sooner. It's been delayed a little bit, probably because of the wildfires in Lahaina. And so, we're using that time to do a comprehensive thinking through on where projects should be located, how they should be structured, and we're going to talk about that in a second. We've also looked a little bit at grid-wide ownership, sort of cooperative ownership of the grid, and also done some initial thinking around a worker-owned installation co-op. So basically, women and men who we could work with to actually build the solar farms that we plan on deploying through these cooperatives. So right now, just I wanted to put it kind of on a map so you can see the scale that we're working in. We talk about Waianae here on the left side of the screen, and not too far from that is Molokai. But most of Hawaii is rural. A few of us live in Honolulu. There's like a million people who live in the city of Honolulu, and a few 100,000 in in the other major towns on the other islands. But most of Hawaii is quite rural, and so there's a lot of opportunities. And so we're looking at other rural areas where we could do projects, and obviously, the thinking is always that we want the community leaders in those areas, particularly the traditional knowledge holders, the people who understand, rain and wind patterns, who understand the fisheries and the flora and fauna. People with that kind of expertise, we want them to be driving the conversation. So we're thinking about places like Wahiawa, which is an area which was controlled by the sugar plantations in the central area parts of Oahu. Puna and Ka'u on the island of Hawaii. So, all throughout the state, the windward side of Oahu, which is called Ko'olapoko. And then also not highlighted here for project development necessarily, but certainly for future energy planning is Maui, where the Lahaina fires were just a year ago. The last thing which I wanted to highlight is the other benefit that you have from building out a kind of a statewide cooperative across the archipelago is synergy, unique opportunities where we can connect people in ways that otherwise wouldn't be connected. And so just this past week, we brought over this young man in blue from the island of Molokai. He's been going through a solar installation training to come and work with a group of high school students in Waianae, these young football players here, to come and learn about how to do basic solar work. And so he brought over, batteries, and there were solar panels already in Waianae to be worked with, but they were able to set up a preliminary solar installation for a kind of a community kitchen in Waianae. And so it's the kind of synergy that is only possible when you overtly and thoughtfully bring together communities all throughout Hawaii. So thank you all very much. And we really believe in the vision of community-driven rural energy projects and rural energy development. And so thank you for your support. One more thing. I want to show this map again. So these are all the different communities that we have that we're thinking about in Hawaii. And the distribution of projects, especially large infrastructure projects or things that everyone benefits from, is not equal. It's not equitable throughout our island chain. So for instance, on the island of Oahu, in Waianae, all of the landfills are located in Waianae. And where I live in Kalihi Valley, right here, all of the homeless shelters are located. And we need to think through, okay, we know that we need to build more solar installations. Is there a way to do this and to think about the siting in a very thoughtful way, such that the risks and rewards, that the benefits and costs are shared equitably? And so right now we're working on an internal framework for equity within the cooperative, within the federation, to think about citing, you know, and to balance all these different considerations across our grassroots communities. Thank you very much.